Development cooperation has been narrowly interpreted to mean financial aid, all overseas development assistance from developed countries. However, broadly, development cooperation includes a broad area of international action. It is about efforts and measures by developed countries that support and complement efforts by developing countries to be able to address their development challenges. The measures might include technical assistance, financial assistance. It might also include in-kind assistance like food aid. It can also include capacity building. So development cooperation is really, really broad. Ideally, a development cooperation is supposed to be based on mutual respect and on such principles as respect of sovereignty and ownership. The East African economies and the East African countries broadly have benefited a lot from developed countries' development assistance. For example, the European Union has supported the East African countries under the European Development Fund. In fact, the European Development Fund has been the main instrument for delivering the EU development assistance to its former colonies in Africa, in Caribbean, and in the Pacific countries. There are also other funds. For example, the EU has the EU Emergency Trust Fund for Africa, which helps to stabilize. It works on migration and also forced displacement. Therefore, the East African countries have been able to use that assistance to undertake projects, to undertake a number of programs in line with their national development priorities. However, there has been a downside to this development assistance because most often, because of the asymmetrical relationship between, for example, the European Union and countries like Uganda or Tanzania, most often there are some strings which have been attached to this development assistance. Although broadly, the strings attached to, or the conditionalities broadly attached to development cooperation include, for example, issues around good governance, democracy, human rights, but there are also sometimes hidden conditionalities attached to development cooperation. Sometimes they are trade-related conditionalities. For example, financial aid played a very key role in terms of enticing the East African countries to negotiate the economic partnership agreement with the European Union, an agreement which wasn't really good for the region. In fact, the 4 East African countries ended up not signing the EPA, and Kenya is the only country which signed the EPAs. So again, also when you look at development cooperation, you find that, for example, the European Union, on one hand, supports countries like the East African countries through development cooperation to get out of poverty, to develop, but it's the same European Union in other forums, for example, in the WTO, which are again putting on table positions which are inimical or which are against the development of the region. We have seen this in the WTO negotiations. The European Union doesn't want to talk about the subsidies they are giving to their farmers. They were also against the Doha development round in the WTO. So you find there are these double standards. There's development cooperation on one hand, but on the other, you find the same country is not supporting development. There have been efforts internationally to be able to make development cooperation work, to reduce on the conditionalities. For example, the UNDP, Uganda Development Programs, the UNDP has put in place the internationally agreed development effective principles. And the principles which UNDP are pushing about country ownership, inclusive partnership, a focus on results and transparency and mutual accountability among the partners. These are some of the principles UNDP is pushing in order to make development cooperation more effective, and also to ensure that development cooperation respects both partners. There is also the UN Sustained Development Cooperation Framework, which is also trying to untie the aid, to remove conditionalities on the aid.